Hey guys, so today's another book haul. Don't know how I forgot that word because, wow, book. Yeah, it's another big one. I was like, I'm definitely going to get under control this month because last month was so mad. But as it turns out, I didn't. So, prepare yourselves. I'm really excited for this one's like more than normal. Usually I buy books that I think look boring, but will be like a good thing to read because they're classics or whatever, but this month I was like, go with your gut, buy what you want to buy books with pretty covers, and here we are. So the first book is 2 Years, 8 Months and 28 Nights by Salman Rushdie. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's a kind of like fantasy novel. The blurb reads, in the near future, after a storm strikes New York City, the strangenesses begin. A gardener finds that his feet no longer touch the ground. A graphic novelist awakens to a mysterious entity that resembles his own creation. A baby identifies corruption with her mere presence, marking the guilty with blemishes and boils. Unbeknownst to them, they are all descended from the creatures known as the Jinn. Centuries ago, Junior, a princess of the Jinn, fell in love with a mortal man. Together they produced an astonishing number of children, unaware of their fantastical powers who spread across generations in the human world. It's been so long since I've read like a proper fantasy novel that I'm really excited for this one, and I think the cover is just so pretty. Right. This is one that was actually gifted to me by a friend who knew that I wanted to read it. It's called I Was Dead for 13... well, I think it's called I think it's called 13 Minutes, but it says I Was Dead for 13 Minutes and I want to know why. It was voted one of the best young adult books of 2016. And yeah, it's kind of like a mystery. Oh, let's actually get this in shot. It's a mystery based, sort of, based around this girl finding out that she's been killed, well, for 13 minutes, and she wants to know why. It wasn't an accident, and I already feel gripped. Right. I love the colour. Well, the colour. But the cover of this one, it's American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. This, I think, is on the list of 1001 books that you should read before you die, which I'm trying to read more of, and I've seen the film. I think everybody's seen the film. So, yeah, I think I'm very excited. Oh, I love... This book was in the March Reading in Heels subscription box that I've been getting for the last few months. I think the cover is so pretty. It's called Umami, I think, by Laia Jeffreyza. And it says, it's basically all about a girl who lives in Mexico City who kind of learns more about life from her neighbours living in the courtyard that her house backs onto and their houses back onto, and she starts sowing seeds there. And yeah, it's basically kind of like, I think it's a bit of a coming of age story. Right, this is another book that my friend actually gifted to me with 13 Minutes. It's called The Ascension of Melanie Winters, oh, let's not drop it, by Holly Stockport, who's actually a blogger this is the first book that she's published, so it's quite nice to actually read a book by another blogger. And this is the blurb. She was a monster, but the worst kind of monster, one disguised as a living human. Melanie Winters is struggling with university life just as much as everyone else. Exams, lectures, the power to move things with her mind, the usual worries. After a freak accident that she caused, Melanie is forced to return to her home in the Welsh countryside with her mother to start again. But when strange events begin to occur upon her arrival, Melanie begins to realise that she and the powers she fought so hard to keep hidden all these years might be part of something a lot more sinister. So yeah, this is another fantasy novel, which I'm actually really excited to read more fantasy novels because I haven't read them in ages. This I really like the cover of as well. That's kind of a running theme this month. It's The Bloody Chamber and Other Stories by Angela Carter. I read The Bloody Chamber when I was in my last year of school. It's a feminist novel, and Angela Carter usually writes like quite feminist works. And I read The Magic Toy Shop as well when I was at uni, so I'm really excited to kind of revisit The Bloody Chamber and some other short stories. And in a similar vein, this is A Vindication of the Rights of Woman by Mary Wollstonecraft, who was actually Mary Shelley's mum, as in Mary Shelley who wrote Frankenstein. This is kind of a really early first wave feminist text. I really like the cover. I think it's beautiful, and it's something that I think I was meant to read at uni and either never bothered or I read it quite a while ago and forgotten. Basically this month I was like, I'm not going to buy any ugly books, so I love all of the covers and I'm going to try not to mention that again. This is The Standing Chandelier by Lionel Shriver, who's also the author of We Need to Talk About Kevin, which is one of my favourite books of all time. I will read the blurb. It says, when Weston Babanski receives an extravagant present from his best friend and old flame, Gillian Frisk, he doesn't quite know what to make of it, or how to get it past his fiancée. Especially as it's a massive, handmade, intensely personal sculpture that they'd have to live with forever. As the argument rages about whether Gillian's gift was an act of pure platonic generosity or something more insidious, battle lines are drawn. Can men and women ever be friends? Just friends. This is something that I've heard of, like, kind of going around for the last couple of years. It's called A Quiet Kind of Thunder by Sarah Bernard, or Sarah, and it's about Steffi who doesn't talk and Reese who can't hear, but they understand each other perfectly, and it's a young adult romance. Right, and this is similarly a young adult romance. It's called Two Boys Kissing by David Lefithan. I've bought quite a few of David's books recently because I read the 12 Days of Dash and Lily over Christmas, which David co-authored, and I really liked it, so I've been buying more of his books. Right. This I think I've heard kind of like spoken about quite a bit as I've been growing up, and it's Empire of the Sun by J.G. Ballard. And it's based on his own childhood. It's the extraordinary account of a boy's life in Japanese-occupied wartime Shanghai, a memorising and hypnotically compelling novel of war, of starvation and survival, of internment camps and death marches, which blends searing honesty with an almost hallucinatory vision of a world thrown utterly out of joint. Right. Also, this is kind of another like loosely historical book. It's called A History of Loneliness by John Boyne, and I've just finished, I finished a few weeks ago it's called The House of Special Purpose, which was all about the Russian Revolution, and John Boyne also wrote The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas. This one is set in Ireland during the Troubles, I believe, and yeah, I just think he's an incredible writer. I loved The Boy in Striped Pyjamas and I love The House of Special Purpose, so I just really love John Boyne. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about covers, but look at this. It's just beautiful. It's The Rainbow by D.H. Lawrence, who also wrote Lady Chatterley's Lover, which I adored when I read. It just says on the back, following 3 generations of a family in rural England as they struggle, fight, labour on the land and discover who they are. So yeah, I just think it's so pretty, and can you imagine having a whole bookshelf that all looked exactly like that? That would be the dream. Right. Now we have Around the World in 80 Days, which is another classic. It's by Jules Verne, and it's the only book that I ever remember my dad reading when I was a child, and he liked it, and it's not too long, so I thought I'd actually give it a go. It's all about Phileas Fogg, who travelled around the world in a hot air balloon, I believe. Maybe he doesn't, but that's what I've always thought, so I'll find out. And again, like these last few are all classics, and we're nearly at the end. So this is Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov. Not entirely sure how to pronounce that. I was meant to read this at uni, and I actually found it really tricky to read, like just getting into the mindset of an adult who's in love with a child and kind of like lusts after them. It's obviously, it could be quite triggering for people, but it's regarded as a classic because it's just so disturbingly accurate. And yeah, I sold my copy that I had of it, so I've bought a new one. It's written from the perspective of the narrator. I think he's, yeah, I'll read the back. Poet and pervert, Humbert Humbert becomes obsessed by 12-year-old Lolita and seeks to possess her, first carnally and then artistically, out of love, to fix once for all the perilous magic of nymphets. This seduction is one of many dimensions in Nabokov's dizzying masterpiece, which is suffused with a savage humour and rich, elaborate verbal textures. Yeah, so I think it's like quite a startling book, but I think, yeah, it's something that's very important to read. So I'm going to give it a go at some point. And then, finally, it's just so pretty. It's The Curious Case of Benjamin Button and Other Stories, and I didn't know for so long that F. Scott Fitzgerald, who wrote The Great Gatsby, wrote this, because I've seen the film and I loved the film. And I think I bought this last month as well, and I forgot, and then I bought another copy of it, or I think I bought 2 copies of it this month, which was a bit crazy. But this had the prettier cover, so this is the one that we're keeping. Yeah, and that's the end of my massive March book haul, which was meant to be a lot shorter than it is because I promised myself I wouldn't buy that many, but here we are. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed it. I'm gonna try and keep things under control for April, and yeah, please give it a like and subscribe for more videos if you did enjoy it. Bye!